Hello everyone, happy Memorial Day, and I was finally able to see Top Gun Maverick, and I was really nervous because people were hyping it up so much, and it's so rare that something can live up to hype like that, saying that it's better than the original, saying that it's just a great movie in general, it justifies its existence as a sequel, giving it A+ cinema score, all the works. And I was nervous because it's so rare that a movie can live up to that hype, but this had almost, I don't want, it's not the same as No Way Home level hype, but the same kind of hype in something that's a crowd pleaser and that gave audiences what they want, which was what No Way Home was. So I had a feeling like maybe this will live up to the hype. Maybe it really is as good as everyone can say. I was really anticipating the movie and I finally was able to see it and it met the hype levels. I'm so glad that this movie turned out so well. I think that Tom Cruise will not let his reputation fall at this point since he's been on the top for so long. He was a producer behind this film. He clearly has a team behind it that he makes sure knows what they're doing and that's gonna, hit the target with this film and every other film he does, like with Mission Impossible Fallout. This movie gave me a lot of Mission Impossible Fallout vibes with how it was paced and the action at the end. But let's go into it why this is such a good movie. So the original Top Gun had a lot of criticisms with its pacing, and I agree with that. There's moments where you just spend so much time on the love interest subplot. You spend such amount of time on it, it just goes on for a long time, then you switch away from it and spend so much time away from it, and it never comes back for that much time again. So it definitely had pacing problems, but I thought that this film, by comparison, was perfectly paced. This is an important one for me, I never felt bored with it. Even at the end, when it just kept going and kept having another thing to do with the action at the end, I never felt bored. I thought, I'm glad to be here. I always felt 100% engaged with the film, and I have such a short attention span. It's very hard to keep me focused on any film. Even if I'm interested, like it's hard to keep me focused and not think of anything else. I was 100% focused on this film. It was so enjoyable. So pacing's one thing, acting and characters are another thing. I thought that I guess after seeing what I thought were some pretty bad performances on Obi-Wan. I'm not going to review that one just yet. I was just so pleased that everyone just gave such a great performance in this film, from the main characters to the minor characters. My favorite actor in this film, aside from Tom Cruise, who fit himself back into this role seamlessly, my favorite actor was Miles Teller, who played Reed Richards in Fant Four Stick. And so because he was in that movie, it gave him a bad reputation. And it's amazing how movies can do that. Just because it was a bad movie doesn't mean he's a bad actor, though. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in this film. He was so good at playing the emotional side of the character, but also such a likability to him. And he really reminded me, I am blanking on the guy who played Goose in the first movie, but he really reminded me of that actor in his performance. So I absolutely loved him in this film, and I loved his chemistry with Tom Cruise and their relationship arc. It was just so great to see. That was one of the big highlights for me of the film. So the great acting, and there's just such great writing. There's just great writing that relies on setup and payoff. Like, you watch the movie and the opening sequence creates a setup when he's flying a plane and doing something, doing something specific that's very daring with that plane, and it payoffs later on to how they are able to execute the mission. And it's like, you don't really see that in a lot of movies anymore. Just simple setup and payoff and foreshadowing to tell your story. And it was just so much of good writing is set up and payoff. And it was just so nice to see a story that just used those simple devices to keep it solid and keep it tight. But I keep bringing up the action at the end, and that's what I want to get to. Like, there's just, throughout the movie, there's such great sequences with the planes and the fighting. And what made it so great to me is barely any of it was CGI. They used real fighter jets for this film, and there was such a weight to them, and that was one of the reasons why I felt so drawn into the film, whether it was the training sequences or the fight sequences, is there was a weight to these jets, and it felt like the action was real, and that drew you into the tension rather than just being a big CGI fest where there's like that subconscious feeling that nothing you're seeing is real. This movie felt very real, and I liked you know, seeing the banter between the pilots and also the tension rise and seeing the real danger that they were in while they were training. But of course, like the big action scene at the end was like the most important thing about a film in its story is how you end it. And at the end, I was not expecting a Star Wars level action scene. I mean, like the original series of Star Wars, where they basically are fighting the Death Star. They have to get, they're not fighting the Death Star, but it's the same kind of it's the same kind of fight where they have to hit a very specific target, and you know they're all talking to each other using code names, and then they have missiles launched at them, and I'm like, this is just like Star Wars. But it's funny, it's exactly, I mean, Star Wars was supposed to be like a dogfight, right? So I mean, this is the same thing, it just doesn't have all the fantasy around it. But then they crafted a further action sequence afterwards that really built on the relationship between Maverick and Rooster, who was Goose's son, and that it built on their relationship. And because the movie had been building their relationship and the tension and where it was going the entire time, that's why you were very invested when they were forced to fight together at the very end and be responsible for each other's lives. And it just, like I said, it kept me invested. It was just so well written, and so it just fired on all cylinders, this film. And it respected the past characters. It built on who they were in the past. It didn't tear anyone down. They actually, like, I've had this complaint in a lot of movies where I feel like they're not allowed to actually have a love interest storyline. And I'm kind of two minds of that, because on one hand, I get annoyed by the cheesiness and the cliches of those love interest subplots. On the other hand, sometimes I watch a movie like Kong Skull Island several years ago, and I was like, well, it's a King Kong movie. Why isn't there a love interest B plot in this? There should be. So I was glad that they did one here. I was disappointed they couldn't get Kelly McGillis back, because she has changed so much visually since she played the character in the first Top Gun. But I was appreciative that they actually brought back a character who was mentioned in the first Top Gun, Penny, and she's the love interest in this film. And I thought that she and Tom Cruise had good chemistry, and that she rounded his character out more than Kelly McGillis's character did. I don't think that Charlie from the first film was gonna ever stick with Pete Mitchell's hot-headedness forever, but this is a different love interest in this film who can handle that. So I thought that all worked really well. There's some cheesy moments, but overall, it's a really great film. It's a movie that is about taking this, in a meta way, it's taking old action hero, if you will, and showing that he still has it for the mainstream audience. And in the movie, it's showing that this old fighter pilot who's very reckless still has something to give to the Navy and something to give to these students. So it worked on both those levels. So it's a very respectful film to the original. It's got some Star Wars level action sequences. It's incredibly well written and incredibly well shot. I love the sequences with all the flying sequences in the film. I love the cinematography in this film. It looks gorgeous. I would give this film like a 9 out of 10, I would say. Just, a slight bit of cheesiness. That's my only criticism. I would 100% recommend seeing this film. I'm going to see it again. And thank you for watching. I will have more reviews and discussions on this channel. I am not going to review Obi-Wan until I've seen the whole thing, because I don't think it's very worth it to just talk about the ups and downs and how I feel with the show. I've tried to do that before with Moon Knight, and it hasn't gone over well. So I will do a review of that when it's all out. Once again, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.